Good evening, I'm Jerry Lyons. Thanks for joining us for News and Views tonight. We're once again pleased to have Richard Hall, attorney in Auburn, BottomLine Lawyers, and also the president of the Auburn Chamber of Commerce. We're going to be talking about some of the new laws that are affecting housing, people who have houses underwater, and what some folks in California are saying are solutions to those problems. Here's our news. We'll be right back. Thanks for joining us for News and Views. I'm Jerry Lyons. We here at WAVE hope that you had a happy and safe 4th of July. Tonight we'll take you to several Placer County locations where Americans celebrated the country's 236th birthday. We begin with Twin Oaks Park in Rockland for the free 2-day patriotic musical and aerial fireworks production of Destiny Christian Church, Celebrate America. The church says more than 30,000 people visited Celebrate America inside the gates and outside in the park over the 2 nights. There were events on stage, a big patriotic production leading up to a spectacular fireworks display. You have a hit on your hands this year as usual.
Yeah, you know, it's a great for the city of Rockland. I think we provide a family-friendly environment for the community to come out and celebrate the 4th of July. Everything that's good and wonderful about our great nation, great music, Danny Goki, American Idol star. Yeah, it's a great event for the city of Rockland. And as a church, we love doing it. We want to be a blessing to our community. We live in a great community, and we just want to give back to the city of Rockland and the surrounding areas. And you're not going to find this environment anyplace else. I mean, there's nothing like it in the area. So I think it's going to just continue to be more popular.
Do you find more and more people are turning back to the church for these days?
Well, yeah, that's what I hope, and that's what my prayer is that people do come to the church, because the church really wants to help people, assist them, walk alongside them. It's a lot of challenging things that are going on in our society right now, and the church can help people. Well, we have all the different seasonal events going on in our church. September is the big launch for the fall as school kicks off, so we kick off all of our new exciting programs in the church for kids and adults and everything happening in the fall.
And this year, singer Danny Goki, a finalist on the Fox program American Idol, was a headline performer. Before the show, he met with fans who were winners in a Fox 40 TV contest. They won a chance to meet Goki, get his autograph, and take pictures with the recording artist. He spoke to us about his enthusiastic participation in Celebrate America and the organization named for his late wife, Sophia's Heart Foundation.
I thought it was an honor to come out here, an honor to be a part of this ministry, and just to come out and share the music and enjoy what our country's all about.
You going to be a part of it next year?
You know, it's always open. I'm always open.
Great. Congratulations on a great success that you established a charity for your wife.
Yeah.
How is it doing?
Man, way better than I thought it would ever be doing in its 3rd year. And so we're moving forward. You know, we're taking in homeless families and rehabilitating them. We got a single mother's wing, and then we got the family wing, and we're opening up a human trafficking wing, about 12 rooms. So pretty soon to start getting some girls out of sex slavery, and then also we do the music and arts piece with the children.
To find out more about future events at the church, including next year's Celebrate America, June 29th and 30th, visit DestinyRockland.com. Last Tuesday, the foothills resounded with the sound of festive and patriotic music the day before America's birthday. The Colfax Independence Day celebration is a 30-year tradition. It drew thousands of people for 2 parades, fireworks, and a day of games for the kids, treats for hungry visitors, and a chance to enjoy a summer's evening reveling in the spirit of freedom. We're a proud sponsor of this event, which drew 70 vendors to the Main Street area to set up business booths and meet the crowd. Tammy Sumner is one of the organizers of this celebration, which is managed by Colfax Pride, Inc., which includes dachshund races, 2 parades, and a fireworks display.
I like that it's close to home because I live in Colfax, but I just like the atmosphere and the whole thing of it's almost like a carnival without the carnival rides.
The first parade, the Colfax Kiwanis Kiddies Parade, featured little patriots who dressed up in the red, white, and blue. It should not be a surprise that the Colfax Kiwanis Club chooses this as their yearly parade theme. Kiwanis clubs all over the country and the world dedicate themselves to organizing and funding children's programs. Everything from fun activities to shopping sprees for the needy at Christmas. And these kids took to the streets to show their patriotic spirit. Then the Lions Club brought on their parade. It began with a color guard, some members of which were dressed in period costumes of the time. 1776, when American colonists declared their independence from England and stirred the wrath of King George III. And there were fire trucks, many of them antique, and children's floats as well. And a visit from Quinn's Clowns, a local area group of placer punchinellos who clowned up going up and down the street to the delight of the audience. A train did intersect the tail end of the parade, but these hardy foothill residents and visitors were not flustered. They waved to the engineer, and when the coast was clear and the tracks were clear, simply picked up their procession where they had left off. Visit colfaxprideinc.org for information on the next events in the city of Colfax and how you can become a sponsor or a vendor for upcoming celebrations. Next we go to the Auburn Family Fourth festivities at the Gold Country Fairgrounds, presented by the Auburn Chamber of Commerce. And it was time for Vice Mayor Mike Holmes to preside over the Community Service Award ceremony. It was hosted by this year's McCann Award winner and Grand Marshal of the parade, Angela Atterbury. Service clubs in Auburn chose members of their own clubs to be publicly honored for their many contributions to the community. They are Brenda Roper, Historic Auburn Seroptimus Club; Chuck Parcher, Auburn Lions 49er Club; Dick Dickey, Higgins Diggins Lions Club; Etta Gross, Meadow Vista Lions Club; Jimmy Mullinex, Auburn Gold Country Rotary; Joe Clay, Auburn Host Lions Club; Christy McIntosh, Auburn Seroptimus Club; Larry Roloffs, Auburn Rotary Club; Lowell Jarvis, Kiwanis; Merrill Kagan Weston, American River Seroptimus Club; and Steve Lease, Daybreak Rotary Club. Congratulations to all the winners. Congressman Tom McClintock, representing our 4th District, was here for the Auburn Family Fourth, appearing in the parade and meeting with constituents at the fairgrounds. He gave us his reaction to the recent Supreme Court decision upholding the constitutionality of Obamacare.
I think it's a catastrophic decision for the Constitution. What it does is to claim unlimited power by the federal government to command any American to do anything the government thinks they should do as long as the punishment is a tax. By blurring the distinction between a punishment and a tax, they've completely circumvented all of our due process rights. If the government taxes you $250 for running a red light or fines you for doing it, the effect is the same. But if it's a fine, the burden of proof is on the government to prove that you actually ran that red light, and you are guaranteed a day in court before you were punished. If it's a tax, the burden of proof shifts to you, and you have to pay the tax. That is, you have to bear the punishment before you have your day in court. That's an outrage.
And the congressman also stressed the importance of the upcoming election.
I'm not an automatic endorsement for the Republican top ticket. I never endorsed either of the Bushes. And I'll say Romney was not my first choice for president. But having said all that, I have no problem enthusiastically supporting his candidacy. I think that his election this year is one of the most critical milestones in American history, and the future of the country is riding on it.
For news from the nation's capital and Congressman McClintock's office, visit mcclintock.house.gov. At 7:45 p.m., it was time for the parade marking the nation's birthday. This parade is organized by the Lions Club, which makes it their specialty to help people with vision problems. raising funds for all kinds of public service projects with that theme, securing eyeglasses for the needy, and paying for exams and treatments. The Ophir Prison Marching Band brought a lively rhythm to the parade, along with other artists providing live music for the festivities. Roland Hazard, Foxtrot Mary, and Annalisa Pagansky.
Let rocks their silence break, the sound prolong. Our fathers, God, to the author of liberty, to thee we sing. Long may our land be bright with freedom's holy light. Protect us by thy might, great God our King.
There were commercial floats in the parade as well as patriotic entries. The American Legion John A. Stacker Post 775 from Loomis, and the Boy Scouts honoring and escorting a huge American flag up the main road through the fairgrounds. Equestrian groups, antique cars, all of them marked by red, white, and blue. And later that night, a fireworks exhibit which topped 20 minutes. Then on Saturday, the Auburn Airfair, presented by the Auburn Aviation Association, provided a great time to plane buffs, kids, military history enthusiasts, and just about anyone who wanted to see and feel those magnificent flying machines which have propelled America through history. You could get up close and personal to older vintage planes and see some of the sleeker models too, and get a chance to go off into the wild blue yonder. And while at the aviation exhibits, you could chat with airborne officers from the Placer County Sheriff's Office and the California Highway Patrol, who talked about their duties high above the ground and how they serve and protect in the sky. And if you did not get a chance to go to the Blue Goose Shed in Loomis at the end of last month to see the finale of the Loomis Basin Has Talent competition, you're still in luck. Wave Broadband is a proud sponsor of this event, and we taped it for the Loomis Basin Chamber of Commerce.
Like this, the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall and the major lift, the baffled king composing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah,
Soon it will be available for sale through the Loomis Chamber, and you'll have a chance to see the performances of the 18 finalists who survived all the cuts and gave their best, making them standouts in the original pool of 255 contestants who signed up at the very start of the competition. The top winner in each of the 2 age brackets gets a chance to record their songs with major sponsor 111 Recording Studio. Visit loomischamber.com for an update on when the DVD presentation is available for sale through the Loomis Chamber. And for a replay of this week's news and views and other features, check out our video on demand selections. Our live talk show is next. You loved Dixon's Grillin' and Chillin' so much the first 2 times, we're serving up a 3rd helping. Savor the pork rib and chili contest. Over 200 cars and trucks and fun for the whole family. The main event, Rodeo House, a rockin' little country band. The Dixon Grillin' and Chillin' 3 Car and Truck Show roars into downtown Dixon July 21st. Visit DixonRibCookoff.com for details. And come hungry. We are back, and we're very happy to have a gentleman who has been here before and is now returning, Richard Hall with BottomLine Lawyers. Good to see you again, as usual.
Good to see you, Jerry. Thank you.
And on behalf of everybody in our company, thank you very much for the many courtesies that you showed us at Auburn on the 4th of July. We had a great time. Everything that we asked for, you provided us, and we're very grateful to you, as well as to all your volunteers of the Chamber who made us feel very comfortable and welcome. So thank you very much.
Well, you're most welcome, and thank you for being there and giving coverage and letting everybody see what's going on in Auburn. We have a lot of exciting events up there.
It was a blast. It was great.
We have another event coming up in a couple of them, not too distant future, that your viewers might be interested in. We have a first-time event called the Great American River Duck Derby. And it's, adopt a duck, and we're going to dump 2,000 ducks in the American River and race them to the next bridge. And it's a very popular event. People love to do that. They get all excited about it. The kids love it. So if you get a chance, come on up for that. That's August the 25th. And it'll be, you can actually go down to the American River right at the convergence and watch from there. And then we're bringing back this year, the Chamber is bringing back the black and white, except instead of it being a black and white ball, this year we're doing Auburn's Black and White Affair, a community celebration. And that's going to be on September the 15th. And we're going to have some great music there, lots of wonderful local food, local wine, local beer. It's going to be a very local-focused, intimate event. So
great. We'll be happy to do whatever we can to advertise that in the future. It's coming up, so let us know how we can do it. We'll give you a Channel 4 ad and also let you know about, let our viewers know about the events. We'll be happy to support that.
Great, thank you.
You got a nice chamber there. You must have had quite a lot of experience being president of other chambers in other places.
Says here in fine print. No, this is OJT, on-the-job training.
Is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
How's it going so far?
It's gone great. I'm about halfway through the year and meeting most of my goals for this year and getting ready to start on a couple more. So it's good. I thoroughly enjoy being president of the Chamber and looking forward to, it's only another few months and Wayne Manning will be taking over as president of the Chamber, and you've probably heard his voice. He's got one of these deep, resonant, beautiful voices. Terrific voice. Yeah, and then moving up the ladder, so it'll be great.
Well, tonight we're going to talk to you in another hat as a lawyer who focuses on debt consolidation cases, houses underwater, and bankruptcies. And you mentioned the last time that we were speaking to you that there are some changes in some of the laws that are governing how people can get out of a fix if the house they find that they're living in is now underwater and they can't refinance, so they've got all kinds of financial problems with it. We were talking before the show about a piece of state legislation that apparently has just come out, and tell us what could be some of the ramifications with this.
Yeah, the real hot topic is Assembly Bill 278 that was, and Senate Bill 990 that was passed by the legislature on July the 2nd, signed by the governor this Monday. And those, that bill together has some very strong provisions in it. Essentially, it puts into California law the contents of the settlement that occurred between the United States and the Bank of America and the other lenders. And it was blessed by a federal judge. But in the settlement that happens there, there's no enforcement capability on the part of an individual. What's particularly unique about the law that was just passed in California is that it creates what's called a private right of action. So if a lender fails to adhere to this law, then an individual consumer can sue for that. And there's an incentive for attorneys to represent those people because it can be expensive and time-consuming, because there's a potential award of attorney fees that's provided for in the bill as well. And for the really egregious conduct by any lender, there's actually a $50,000 per incident fine against a lender for violating it. And there's a lot of provisions, but basically they're trying to remedy holes that were identified in legislation that was passed a couple of years ago about foreclosure. The statement by the legislature clearly indicates that they're very concerned about the impact on the local economy of the housing market and foreclosures throughout the state. And one of those really big impacts that we're starting to see, you know, Stockton just filed bankruptcy. I think Mojave or Mammoth just filed. There's 2 or 3 entities that have filed, and I'm sure there are more to come. We've just started a new fiscal year. It's going to be a problem for many, many government entities. And so the reduction in property tax revenue has hit these entities, subdivisions of the state, very hard. And they're looking for ways to remedy that. Let's get past this housing crisis and start to grow again. And this is the legislature's effort at accomplishing that. And there's a number of different provisions in it that I can talk about specifically. The law does apply, for instance, to both loan modifications and short sales. So they talk about alternatives to foreclosure, and those are both alternatives. And the provisions include a variety of things. One of the things that corrects what has been a practice in the industry is, for instance, if you got denied a loan modification, they didn't have to tell you why you were denied.
Oh, really?
Right. Under this law, you're required to be told specifically why you were denied.
Really?
And you have a right of appeal, a statutory right of appeal. Now, most of the lenders have, in the last 12 months or so, really improved their processing of both short sales and loan modifications. They've seen the light in how it benefits them as well as the homeowner, and so they've really ramped up. I mean, I have to be very empathetic to them, because if all of a sudden I had 5,000 clients arrive at my office, there's no way I could possibly deal with it. And that's essentially the equivalent of what the lenders have had to go through. You know, all of a sudden they've got, you know, millions of loans to deal with at one time. I think they were probably just in a state of shock for a long period of time. But anyway, this legislation fixes some of those things. Another issue is in determining whether or not they're going to allow for a loan modification or approve a short sale, they look at something called the net present value. And that's a complex calculation based on what are called inputs. And historically, you don't know what those inputs are. You just know they come up with a number. You know, it's at the end of the sausage factory. You don't know what went into it, but you know what came out, right? Well, it's kind of the same deal. And now, under this legislation, if you request it, they're going to provide you what those inputs are. But the real major change in this legislation is that it does allow for a private right of action, so you can sue to get the lenders to conform their behavior to what the law says, and that there's a possibility of attorney fees, which means you actually can get an attorney to handle it. Because most of the people that are facing foreclosure can't walk into a law office and pop down $10,000 to fight the battle. Right? So that's definitely a problem.
Let me ask you, if I may.
Please.
Since in your practice you have to be familiar with all the laws, both federal and state, in helping your clients, in your opinion, is this latest law, is this a consumer-friendly piece of legislation? Is this something that homeowners will gain some, some good from?
That's a great question. It's in my opinion, it's a mixed bag, because theoretically, the homeowners should benefit from this, but what they've done is dump this onto the courts. And one of the things that's happened in California is we have non-judicial foreclosures for the vast majority of foreclosures, which means you never have to walk into court. Now they're making it what I believe is a sort of a quasi-judicial proceeding. And it's great because you have a remedy for the individual consumer, but, you know, right here in Placer County, our courts have been cut dramatically. I think the reduction in staff is now 60 or 70 personnel since this crisis began. Yeah. And so the ability of the courts to respond to a bunch of new litigation is very limited. So whether it's going to actually have the intended effect, I'm not sure. The other part of that question that's interesting is what will be the effect of that legislation passing, because it doesn't go into effect as a law until January 1st of 2013. It's not emergency legislation. So will lenders today begin to conform their conduct to the requirements of this law in preparation for its implementation, or will they say, geez, we better get through every foreclosure we possibly can before we have to jump through all those hoops? Jury is still out on that. I don't know what they're going to do. So it could, unintended consequences of legislation are vast. You never know really what's going to happen. So you just keep your ear to the ground and follow it. But one of the interesting things about this piece of legislation that will at least give some people peace is that it requires that the lender designate a single point of contact. Now, that doesn't mean just one person. It could be a team that's handling your case, as it were. But that team, every member of the team has to be familiar with your circumstances and your loan, and then that single point of contact has to have the authority to postpone any foreclosure that's in process while you're pursuing your foreclosure alternative.
Oh, okay.
And that's a pretty dramatic change that's happened. The other thing is that under this legislation, if you have a document deficiency, they have to tell you what the document deficiency is. And you won't believe the horror stories about people saying, well, I sent you all of those documents that you asked for, and they did. And they faxed them, and they overnighted them, and they hand-delivered them. And the lender said, well, we never got them. And that, I can tell you of probably 300 instances I know personally where that's happened, right? Under this new legislation, if there's a document deficiency, they have to inform you in writing, which is a great thing, because you got to know what it is that you need to deliver in order to get relief, and instead of being in this big void. And the other thing is that there's an interesting characteristic in California law about the foreclosure process, and without digressing and sounding like a lecture, there's a couple of steps in that. You get a notice of default, and 90 days or more later, you'll get a notice of trustee's sale, and then 21 days or more after that, there'll actually be the sale. Well, in the past, as the law stands today, once that sale date has been set, let's say they set that sale date for July 11th, if they postpone, and they being the lender or the trustee, the beneficiary, they can postpone at will, really as much as once a week for a year if they want to. The only way you know definitively about that is to go to the sale and actually hear the auctioneer cry, sale postponed at request of the beneficiary until X date. And that's been very problematic. Now, the lenders have gotten very good about posting information on the internet about postponed sale dates, but with big disclaimers like you can't count on it, don't rely on it, don't use this information. So now, if they do a postponement, they're going to have to actually inform in writing the borrower of what that is.
When we say inform in writing, can that include an email? Or a text?
Yeah, it could include a email.
Okay.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be an old-fashioned signed letter with a pen.
But here's where I feel empathy for the lenders is, contact information for homeowners, especially in where everybody's got cell phones and everything else. I mean, half the people I know don't even have a landline anymore at home. Yeah. So how do you reach them? And even if their loan is from 2007, likelihood is they've changed phone numbers since then. Right? So how do you get a hold of them? And the lender, before they can ever issue a notice of default, has to sign a certificate under penalty of perjury that they've made a due diligence effort to make a contact.
Oh,
so it's really burdensome.
We're going to take a break in a few moments. We need your phone calls. Mr. Hall is fascinating, telling us all these details about the new laws, some things that you might want to know about as well, and we'll be happy to interrupt a conversation to help you out. 916-624-5333. Call now. It's a good time for you to call. We're going to take a break for about a minute and a half. You'll hear about some of our Wave products, including phone service. So if you get a call, it's dependable. With ours, you'll get the call or the email. and then we'll come back. We'll continue our very good conversation with Richard Hall, BottomLine Lawyers in Auburn. He is also the president of the Chamber of Commerce in Auburn, and we will take your phone calls right after this brief break.
As a Wave broadband customer, you live in the home of the future. Where you live, one company provides the connections you need for one low price on one simple bill. You choose from an array of reliable options that fit your life and get special bonuses for bundling your services. And a friendly team of experienced people are always there to help. It's pretty cool where you live. Welcome to the home of the future. Bundle your Wave services today. Call 1-866-WAVE-123.
People like choices. Like the wide choice of HD programming available from Wave Broadband. Wave has all your favorite HD channels, spectacular HD shows and movies on demand, and an easy-to-use HD DVR so you never miss a thing. And with Wave, the HD selection is always growing. Upgrading is simple, easy, and the perfect way to get the most from your HD TV. With an HD selection like this, Wave Broadband is the only choice you need.
As a Wave broadband customer, you live in the home of the future. Where you live, digital home phone technology keeps you connected in a whole new way. You can talk with friends and family across town or across the country for one low price. A complete set of digital calling features, superior call quality, reliability, and support make Wave Phone a great value. Tomorrow is calling. Welcome to the home of the future. Want to switch to Wave Phone in your home? Call 1-866-WAVE-123.
Any phone calls?
Not yet. We are back. Richard Hall is here. He's with BottomLine Lawyers. It is your practice in Auburn, a great town, great city, of which you are also the president of the Chamber of Commerce. We were talking right before we took a break about some of the changes in state law that has to do with people whose houses are underwater or they're facing foreclosures. And you said there was a mixed bag, this latest collection of bills, Assembly Bill 278 and Senate Bill 990. That I did hear one reporter say they wanted to call it the Homeowners' Rights Act, but it didn't quite measure up to that. It sounds like there's some changes that are helpful to people, but not as much, perhaps, let's say, that people who are looking to buy a house, first-time homeowners, would want to have.
On the whole, I would say this is a consumer-oriented bill. Mm-hmm. And there are some downsides for lenders. There's no question about it. There's more hoops that they have to jump through, and that's going to cost them some money. And it's always a balancing act of who's going to absorb that and who are we seeking to benefit. The legislature made it clear they want to solve this housing crisis sooner rather than later. It's gone on too long already, and it's dramatically affecting state government, cities, counties, and it's going to continue to do that. So the sooner we're out from underneath, the better. This is their effort to do that.
Is there any relief in some of these new regulations that are going on for people, let's say, who obeyed all the rules? We know that there are a lot of people who didn't obey all the rules. They worked with unscrupulous mortgage brokers, or they weren't really trying to do anything flaky, and they just walked into somebody who wanted to make a goofy deal, and they got snared. They couldn't afford the house they were buying. How have things changed for them? Well,
That's a sort of a complex question, because in my experience, most of the people that I see, not all, but most of the people I see, did things exactly the way they were supposed to in terms of here's what the lender's requirements were. They met the lender's requirements, but the requirements really weren't what they should be for those folks to be able to buy a house. I mean, when you have somebody making $16,000 a year that can buy a $500,000 house, you know that there's something wrong, right? But for folks, and we have a lot of them in Placer County, they've owned their home for 20 years and they've been paying down their mortgage. The short answer, and it's a little sad, is there isn't any direct benefit for them. There are some refinance programs. The HARP program is one of them, but there's a number of refinance programs out there that can substantially help homeowners if they want to do some refinance.
Very good. We have a caller.
Right.
Would you like to answer somebody else's questions for a change?
Sure.
Hi, you are live on News and Views. Jerry Lyons here with Richard Hall. What's your question, please?
Yes, I own a apartment building over in the Sacramento area that's underwater. this bill going to give me any help so that I can kind of get cleaned up on that a little bit?
That's a great question. Actually, the short answer is no. That this bill is only intended to help 4 units or less in which you are it's your primary residence, right? But there are other opportunities that someone like who owns a apartment house has that we homeowners don't have. For instance, we had a client in San Francisco recently who had a mortgage on our rental property that was $2 million. Well, in a bankruptcy proceeding in Chapter 11, which is a reorganization for a business or an individual, we actually reduced that mortgage from $2 million to $1 million.
Wow.
And it's not a matter of negotiation with the bank per se, it's a matter of following bankruptcy law and procedure to arrive at that result. So for non-owner occupied properties, there are some substantial opportunities for improving this situation, but this bill doesn't particularly impact that.
Let me ask you a question, sir. Hold on, please. I just want to find out, do a follow-up with you. You have a lot of great resources on BottomLineLawyers.com. Would the gentleman find an answer in some of that really good research you've got in your pages?
I think he'd find an answer with respect to the Chapter 11 opportunities. I have not yet fully addressed this on the website, but we will be doing that, okay. The new bill.
Did that answer your question, sir?
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Please give us your calls.
When's the last time you had a lawyer give you free, really good advice?
We'll cut that out, Rob.
Yeah.
So, continuing the conversation.
Well, let me tell you about one of the more complex parts of this bill, and again, without getting into a complete legal diatribe about it, there's a concept in the law called standing. And there's several types of standing, but essentially what it means is you have the right to be in court, right? And this bill requires a lender to prove that they have standing. And that's a huge open door for consumers, because what we experienced in the last 5 or so years is a lot of loans that were put into what's called a REMIC trust, a real estate mortgage investment conduit trust. And those trusts were all controlled by a pooling and service agreement, all of which is controlled by New York trust law. And if you look at those pooling and servicing agreements, section 2.01, 2.02 of about 95% of them, it requires that they conduct a series of transfers of the mortgages before the trust can be completed. And in almost all cases, those transfers did not happen.
Oh.
And so from a strictly technical legal point of view, that there's actually no one with the right to foreclose on those properties. And there are several jurisdictions in the country that have recognized that. The chief bankruptcy judge in the state of New Jersey, several judges, Judge Shack and others in New York, some courts in Alabama, has not been true in California. And part of the reason for that is that the issue can't get to court because we have non-judicial foreclosure. Well, with this bill, the door has been opened to go in and bring an action and say, well, you can't foreclose because you don't own the note, you don't have standing. So that's going to make a huge difference.
How did the law ever get closed in the first, I mean, the door ever get closed on judicial action regarding these things? I mean, you're basically talking about a contract, and contracts are covered under law.
Right. That's a terrific question again. That actually comes out of the Depression. After the Depression in this state, the legislature decided we needed a way to make this go faster. They needed to clean up the housing issues as quickly as possible. And so they created this thing called non-judicial foreclosure. And the main reason is, as the name implies, you don't have to go to court. So it streamlines the process dramatically over what it had been. Now, in those days, we didn't have securitization, and we didn't have the kind of things that we do with modern finance, and so it was never an issue. If a bank loaned you money to buy a house, they held that note until it was paid off. And you had a personal relationship, and they knew what to expect, and you knew what to expect. And if you ran into a problem for some reason, you could go talk to your banker, and they'd cut you some slack, and you could work it out. But today, you take it, even today, even after this fiasco, if you take out a loan, well, your bank doesn't own it, your mortgage lender doesn't own it. It's owned by 50,000 people, and most of them are probably in Germany or elsewhere in the world. And so you don't have that same sort of opportunity. So now with the non-judicial foreclosures, it becomes more problematic. You don't have the same access to the lender.
Plus, does it not, let's say you were talking about certain chains of actions that had to occur that were in conformance with the New York trust law. In the old days, if let's say you had enough savvy, let's say you were an attorney or you were an economic professional who knew that, hey, there's something wrong going on here. They don't have the right to take my house because the law was not conformed on. It's almost a kind of a fruit of the poison tree argument. Cops break into a house and take evidence.
We call it the broken chain.
Okay, broken chain of, okay.
Or the missing link.
Yeah.
Right.
You had no recourse. Even if you knew that you had been swindled out of your house, could you not go to civil court and try to address it that way? Or
you can. It's not that you're without any recourse, but it's difficult and expensive, and most people are not going to pursue it. And if your house went to foreclosure and actually sold, not back to the bank, but to a third party, there's almost no way that that house is coming back to you, because California law is very strict about a bona fide third-party purchaser is entitled to keep that house, even if you were defrauded out of it.
That's terrible.
Well, it is, but it provides certainty in the marketplace, which is critical to the operation of an efficient marketplace. So, in the number of instances where that has happened in the past, has been very small, so it hasn't been an issue. But now we have this large, literally global issue about investment trusts, which they're basically a tax vehicle for investors. The reason they were put into REMIC trusts is because the investors are able to avoid double taxation on the money that they're investing. So again, a quasi-legitimate purpose, in my opinion, but it hasn't worked out well. And what we've got is, a lot of folks who decided not to go to engineering school and not to pursue other careers that produce something physical, but actually they went to finance school to learn how to manipulate markets and things like that. And those things have some value, but you've got people that were just greedy, saying, hey, if I do this, I'm going to make a lot of money.
Yeah. What else have you, I'm sorry, you wanted to explore the topic that you began with some more, please.
Yeah.
How you got sidetracked.
No, that's fine. It's an interesting topic to begin with. But I actually want to digress for just a moment because there is another change that happened in law that I mentioned briefly when I was here last time that's important to not so much homeowners per se, but anybody facing a financial difficulty, and that is that the Internal Revenue Service has changed their policy and procedure with respect to offers and compromise. Offer and compromise, otherwise known as an OIC, is an opportunity to get square with the IRS on your tax debt without paying 100 cents. And it takes into consideration, what your financial circumstances are, what the probability of the Internal Revenue Service is of collecting that over a 10-year period, and so. But they've revised the process, is my point. And that means that OICs are going to be more accessible to more people, and they're going to be more successful. Less arbitrary, more scientific, and so those folks and we have a lot of people that are facing tremendous tax liabilities at this point in time because of housing issues or because of lost jobs, because they had a thriving business and the market went down. They no longer had a thriving business, but they never paid the taxes concurrently, and so now they have huge tax liabilities.
Yeah.
Joe?
Kind of suspicious all this happened at once, isn't it?
Yeah, but boy, I could talk about that for hours.
Yeah, the domino effect. Hi, you are live on News and Views. Can we have your question, please?
Yes, my question is, I see all these notices in the paper about foreclosures, they're going to sell a house and show up at the City Hall, the steps of the City Hall in Roseville. When you go down there, who sets how does that happen? Who sets the price? Is there a minimum price? I mean, can you just, like bid $50?
Stay on the phone, Miguel, in case you got a follow-up.
It's a real interesting question, actually. The price is set by the lender, and the lender communicates that to the trustee. The lender generally is not actually the owner, so there's a servicer. Again, it's going to get complicated because it is complicated. There's a beneficiary who actually is the person who put up the money. But that's not the person you're dealing with most of the time. You're dealing with the servicer or the sub-servicer, which is this person who's just hired to collect the money and distribute it. Okay? And then the trustee is the person appointed under the deed of trust to manage a foreclosure. So what happens in that instance is the beneficiary or its representative, the servicer, determines what the price is going to be based on a variety of factors, market price and what's happening and what they need to see on a given loan, things that may not be relevant to anybody in the entire world but them. They determine what the opening bid is, and that they set that bid, and the crier or the auctioneer will announce that opening bid at the time of the auction. And it's if you've never been, I suggest you go just for entertainment's sake, because you'll see, 24 people there, and between them they probably have 30 or 40 million dollars in cashier's checks, because everything has to be done in cash, right?
Oh my gosh.
And so, not that you're going to be able to go rip these people off. Believe me, that's not going to happen. But they have a lot, and you can say, okay, and they're going to open the bidding, and it's at 400,000, and they go to 410, whatever the bid is, and they'll announce the increments. So the opening bid is set by the servicer generally, and then it goes from there. And many of the properties don't go to foreclosure at that moment. Frequently they get kicked over another time. I was mentioning that you didn't know for sure if it had been postponed.
Right.
And so now they'll have, under the new law starting in January, they'll have to let you know.
Okay. That answer your question, Miguel?
No, I still have a question though.
Okay.
So they set the bid for this price for this house for $450,000 and nobody bids on it. Now what happens to that property?
What happens is that it goes back to the bank. That the bank generally they can bid. The bank can bid anything. It's called a credit bid, and they can bid any amount of money up to the opening bid or above the opening bid, frankly, and they just exchange the credit they have because they own the loan for that property. So it goes back to the bank, is what people call it in shorthand. But they're literally making a bid, and generally the opening bid is not set at the mortgage price. The opening bid. It could be set at that. You'd think, intuitively, you'd think it would be set at that because that's what they're trying to recover.
Right.
But there's a lot of strategy in how you set that opening price, and so that gets all decided in advance.
Okay.
Well, then can the bank now go like sell this at some price that they've determined?
Sure. The bank, that property becomes what's known as REO, real estate owned. Yeah. And the bank puts that into their inventory, and they put it into the market if and when they see fit. Interesting fact about if you put an offer in on an REO property is that there are absolutely no guarantees or warranties about that. None of the typical protections that are there for a new home buyer exist for an REO buyer. So it is definitely a buyer, caveat emptor, buyer beware situation. Yeah.
Now, a tax lien sale is different, though. Whoever bids whatever high bidder wins, regardless of the price, right?
Yeah, tax lien is a very different thing. That's put on by the county, and there is going to go essentially to the highest bidder. They can set a threshold price below which they won't go, but generally speaking, it really is just the highest bidder. So you can come in and say, if you bid $100 and you're the high bidder, you're going to get it.
Wow.
Okay, that answered all my questions. One other thing, I'm sure you're going to mention this before the program's over, Jerry, that Friday night we're going to have the concert. It's
oh, good.
Fred Morgan's band, 7 o'clock down at the train depot in Loomis.
Fred Morgan is quite a gentleman. We did a story with him or two. He's absolutely terrific guy. Great musician, big band music, all that.
Right. So,
okay.
So you people that they come on down, bring your chair. We'll probably be giving out watermelon at intermission, and we'll turn the sprinklers on or something so we'll stay cool.
Where's it going to be?
Loomis Train Depot, the historic train depot.
Downtown Loomis.
Perfect.
Horseshoe Bar Road and Pacific. All right, sir. We'll see you later. I'm sorry, it's not Pacific, is it? No, it's Taylor Road. Let's take another break, and then we'll come in for a summation. I decided to throw in a legal word to make you feel home. We'll throw in a summation. In the meantime, we just got time to take your phone calls, 916-624-5333. Well, go ahead, text somebody. Tell them to call in.
There's the phone ringing now.
We'll be back in a few moments. Just stay with us.
As a Wave broadband customer, you live in the home of the future. Where you live, one company provides the connections you need for one low price on one simple bill. You choose from an array of reliable options that fit your life and get special bonuses for bundling your services. And a friendly team of experienced people are always there to help. It's pretty cool where you live. Welcome to the home of the future. Bundle your Wave services today. Call 1-866-WAVE-123.
People like choices. Like the wide choice of HD programming available from Wave Broadband. Wave has all your favorite HD channels, spectacular HD shows and movies on demand, and an easy-to-use HD DVR so you never miss a thing. And with Wave, the HD selection is always growing. Upgrading is simple, easy, and the perfect way to get the most from your HD TV. With an HD selection like this, Wave Broadband is the only choice you need.
As a Wave broadband customer, you live in the home of the future. Where you live, digital home phone technology keeps you connected in a whole new way. You can talk with friends and family across town or across the country for one low price. A complete set of digital calling features, superior call quality, reliability, and support make Wave Phone a great value. Tomorrow is calling. Welcome to the home of the future. Want to switch to Wave Phone in your home? Call 1-866-WAVE-123.
We are back, and we want to thank you very much for being with us. I have to mention a few brief notes, if you'll allow me, sir.
Surely.
The Rockland Police Department is having a couple events coming up. Of course, that's going to be next week. The one that's coming up is it's on Tuesday night, and it's America's Night Out. It's a chance for the Neighborhood Watch programs to get together and tell everybody to be good neighbors and join together to watch out for people who are in their neighborhood who might be up to no good. So the Rockland Police Department has some information on that. Go to the City of Rockland website and you can get more information. Then it's going to be Shredder Day. Community Document Shredding Day is going to be Saturday, July 21st from 9 until noon. Rockland Police Department, 4080 Rockland Road. You can come and take a look at some of the free services. There are companies that have shredding services that are going to be demonstrating them for you to get your business. In the meantime, they give you a free sample to shred stuff. Bark for Life, canine event to fight cancer. Next week, I believe it's going to be one of our guests who's going to talk about it. July the 21st, it's going to be Johnson Springview Park. This is a kind of way for dog owners and people who have dogs. Join us for fun games and a barking good time as we take a bite out of cancer. These are people who bring their pets to help raise money to fight cancer. Rotary Club of Auburn, sponsoring the Spirit of Auburn Community Barbecue. I got to let you mention your club.
Yeah, Rotary, downtown club in Auburn.
Oh, you're the downtown club.
Downtown.
You're
club.
The oldest club.
Some people call it the old man's club.
No, I don't mean age of individuals. I mean you were the first established Rotary Club in Rockland.
Indeed, and we are the largest with 108 members.
That is superb.
And Rotary, you know our motto, don't you?
Service above self.
Service above self, yeah.
Yes. That was excellent. Thank you. Okay, OD is on the phone, okay. And Seniors in Placer County, July 12th, that's tomorrow. Agency on Aging is having their event from 10 o'clock until 11:30, Loomis Veterans Memorial Hall. It's at Horseshoe Bar Road. We should have talked to Miguel about that. Candice Roeder is going to be doing the
Candice Roeder?
Yes.
Great lady.
What many things can help older people live safe and well. What matters the most? Good transportation options, affordable housing, making home repairs, making ends meet, and light refreshments will be provided. That's Placer County's Agency on Aging. Older Adult Advisory Commission is having their event tomorrow from 10 o'clock until 11:30 in the morning.
Candice is really helpful.
Yes, I think I talked to her on the phone once, but yes, we like to try to plug those events for the county. They got some great ones.
Yes.
Hi, you are live on News and Views. How are you?
I'm fine. How about yourself?
All right.
Really what I want to know is whether this new law that was recently signed will impact foreclosures from now to the end of the year.
Okay. Did you get that?
Yes, I did. Yeah, that's kind of alluded to that a little bit earlier. The law doesn't actually go into effect until January 1st of next year. And I think the jury is still out on whether or not the lenders will try and move into compliance early so it makes it easier for them to make that transition come January, or whether they're going to say, we want to get a bunch of foreclosures done now so we don't have to deal with that. So that's one of those areas where we just need to keep our ear to the ground, and if you are imminently facing foreclosure, go talk to a professional, because there's just so many moving parts here, it takes a lot to work it out.
Did that answer your question, ma'am?
It did. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Also wanted to mention the fact that it seems as if we're getting a little bit of a nibble, well, not a nibble, we're getting a little bit of an increase in housing starts. And that's usually a good economic indicator. But it's nowhere near as many as we need being built. It's nowhere near the really healthy one.
Well, and have to look at where those, not so much physically where they are, but where they are in the scale of housing cost. Part of the problem is we actually have excess inventory at this point in time. There's a lot of what's called shadow inventory. Properties that have been repossessed, foreclosed upon by the banks, but are not yet back on the market, and may not be back on the market because not only have housing prices dropped, but median incomes for many people have dropped. So the folks that could afford a mortgage on a $1.2 million loan can't do that anymore. And so now they want a mortgage, they can support maybe a $600,000 mortgage. And so the market for the high-end houses has dried up significantly. And so the new housing starts are going to be more in the $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 range. And not so much at the high end. So it's interesting to see where those are coming, because I mean, we went a little bit over the top on housing values, right? And people wanted to have 7,000, 8,000 foot homes, and they built them, and they were able to finance them with the kind of mortgages you could get at the time. Can't do that anymore. And when mortgage rates return to a normal level, I mean, where we are now, 4% is, or even in some cases 3.75, whatever, it's incredibly low. I mean, a typical mortgage rate historically in California is in the 7% range. And so this is a real, in terms of mortgage costs, it's a real bargain time to be taking out a mortgage. I'm not sure we've hit the bottom of the market in terms of value, but it's a great time for the interest rates. Is the low mortgage rate, is that an effect or a cause or both? It's really an effect, in my opinion, it's an effect of the Fed has literally a 0% interest rate. So the banks can go borrow money from the Fed at no interest and lend it out for 30 years, at 3.75, 4.2, whatever percent interest. That's a pretty nice markup. And then they're going to go securitize that and sell off chunks of that, so they don't have to even remain at risk on it. They're going to have some risk remaining because under Dodd-Frank's, they can no longer sell off 100% of a loan. They have to keep some skin in the game. Okay. We have one more call. Hi, how are you? You're live on News and Views.
Hey, Jerry, Jeff.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine, buddy. How are you tonight?
Friends of Lincoln Kids President Jeff Greenberg, who is a longtime viewer and a longtime caller. Hey, Jeff.
How are you, sir?
I'm wonderful, thanks.
Yeah, this is the second week in a row now. Interesting. I've got a question. Matter of fact, I was telling a couple friends of mine that you were going to be on tonight. We were talking today. And one of the things someone had mentioned, I guess someone that they knew had taken out a loan from a bank on a business, which, as we know, a lot of businesses have failed terribly, and you're forced to personally sign for it. And the business goes bad, and then the bank doesn't want to do any negotiation, and they just want to, take you to court and come after you. Is there any relief from anything like that for anybody?
There sure is. We've had a number of clients with that situation. As you know, Placer County has historically had a large number of contractors, and they were among the worst category hit when the housing decline hit. So we've had to work with a number of them to help them out in that very circumstance. And generally speaking, what we've done is we've been able to put that individual because they've probably exhausted almost all their assets, put that individual through a Chapter 7 liquidation bankruptcy, which wipes out the personal guarantees. And once the lender understands that they don't have the option of going after the individual anymore, that's gone, they become far more negotiable. And if they continue to push beyond that, then we can take the business through a Chapter 11 reorganization. And you know, the best use of a Chapter 11, in my opinion, is negotiation, but it doesn't always work that way. But in a Chapter 11, that lender may get paid, but they may get paid, you know, 5 cents on the dollar.
Oh, that's bad.
And so it's better to negotiate a deal up front and get that. It's the personal guarantees that people sign frequently unknowingly that are important. And you raise an important point, and that is lots of folks have their own business, and they take out a credit card and it has the name of the business on it, BottomLine Lawyers, right? And they think, oh well, okay, that's credit issued to BottomLine Lawyers. No, it's not. And unless you're GM, that credit is issued to you personally. So even if your business goes belly up, you're still personally on the hook for that.
Oh.
So it just what the name of the card is or whatever doesn't give you any protection. That one other point on that, in that particular regard, and we're running out of time, is a lot of people, unfortunately, going through economic stress, are also then ending up going through divorce.
Oh.
And so we strongly recommend that they go through a bankruptcy or financial event that we work with them on first, because otherwise the one party or the other is going to end up holding the bag. And regardless of what the divorce court assigns in terms of who's responsible for a debt, the lenders don't care about that, and nor should they, because when you got that money, you were both part and parcel of getting the loan. And so you really need to resolve those issues before you go through any type of marital dissolution.
Can they go after a spouse whose signature does not appear on any of the papers that were processed in getting the loan or
you bet.
Credit card?
Absolutely.
Really?
California's a community property state, so if you know, if the husband went out and got a $100,000 line of credit and the wife didn't even know about it, she's still completely liable for that.
Whoa. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I bet a lot of people out there knew it, but I didn't know it.
Unfortunately, a number of people find that out the hard way.
No, I'm never getting married.
Yeah.
Okay. Did that answer your question, Jeff? Jeff, are you still there? No, I guess he's cool. I did want to mention we are going to be a proud sponsor of one of Jeff Greenberg's upcoming events in September. I believe it's September 9th. It's Saturday. The Rib Festival is coming up, annual Rib Festival. If you like ribs, you need to come to Lincoln. Friends of Lincoln Kids is the organization this benefits. It's a philanthropic organization. They have a lot of kids programs and help kids out.
Are they passing out raincoats to go with it?
No, not exactly. This might be Jeff on the phone again. We are wrapping up the show. Is that you, sir?
Yeah, I'm here. No, the phone went dead, so I wasn't sure what happened.
Okay. You had a follow-up question.
No, I just wanted to mention that if I can get a couple quick ones in, that this Saturday, the Friends of the Library have the big book sale. It's from 1 to 4. And then, as you know, the Rib Festival and this new type of car show is going to be on September 8th.
September 8th, okay. Good.
Yes, sir. And we'll talk about it more as time gets closer.
Very good. I just told everybody about the organization. I said it was September 9th, but it's the 8th instead. Okay, good show.
And I don't want to be too smarmy about this, Jerry, but I do want to tell you that I have wave service in my home, and I have wave service in my office, and they're stellar. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, too. We do still have testimonials from happy customers. Thank you very much for being a customer. We're out of time. I want to appreciate very much you coming back. We do this every 3 months or so. Interested in making a return appearance?
Always.
Sometime before the end of the year, maybe in another 3 months or so?
Sure, I enjoy visiting with you. It's great.
We love to do economic indicators with people who know what they're talking about, which obviously you are one, and try to let people know through all the zigzags. It's a very complicated topic.
It is.
I don't pretend to think I know 1/10 of 1% of it. So we appreciate very much your being here. And congratulations.
Jerry, thank you.
On a great event for the 4th, Auburn Family 4th of July. One more thing. Friday, August 24th, Auburn Community Golf Classic. Go to auburnchamber.net, the website. See how you can become part of this great event by being a sponsor. playing golf. Are you going to play golf up there? Are you going to do that?
No, but
game?
I'm going to be helping out.
You're going to be helping out?
Helping out on the golf course. Yeah, this is interesting because we have stations throughout the golf course where you can get food and drink. We have actually full life-size cutouts of sponsors that's there.
Okay.
It's a very entertaining event, and this year we're actually starting early. Tee-off is like 7 o'clock, I think it's. In the past, we started much later in the day. It gets too hot. So we're starting earlier in the day. So it's going to be another great event. I think we already have something like 30 foursomes set up for this.
Nice.
You know, so it'll be good. It'll be a great event.
Thank you very much again for being on the show.
Thank you.
See you again next week. In the meantime, thank you for being part of our 4th of July celebration. News and Views shall return next Wednesday at 6:30. Good night. The views and opinions expressed in the preceding program are those of the host, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily the views of Wave Broadband or its advertisers.